press it this time.
Okay, so the gradient intercept form is what we're going to use to look at the equation of a line. So we're going to start with what we already know. Now, just like in the quick quiz, this is a table of values. Can we see the pattern here is going up by 2s? So what would I expect the next number to be?
3.
And the next one? 5. Okay, so we can see our pattern is going up by 2s, and we've seen that this, what we're going up by, becomes the coefficient of the x, and the value at 0 becomes the number added on. So we've already done that. We did that in the quiz. Is everyone happy with that?
Yes, I like that. That makes so much sense now.
Okay. What we also know to do is we know how to do gradient, which is rise over run. So if we drew these on here, we could see that, if we create a little triangle here, that we have a rise of 2 and a run of 1, giving me a gradient of 2. And if we look at the picture, remember we talked about the y-intercept, which is where our line intercepts the y-axis. So looking at our picture, we intercept the y-axis at 1. Okay, so we have a gradient of 2 and a y-intercept of 1. In our rule, we have a coefficient of 2 and a constant of 1. We're seeing a link here?
Yeah.
Yes, Callum? Gradient is rise over run. So we looked at the triangle here, and we saw that it rose 2 for the one that it went across. We saw that from our picture. Okay? All right, looking at another picture. Shh. Okay, looking at this picture, at -2, can you see what my y value is?
Yeah, it's obviously 3.
3. Okay? At -1, what is my y value?
0.
0, well done. Shh. Mason and Charlie, pay attention. We're getting this from the graph lines. Okay? So at 0, what's my y value?
3. -3.
-3.
See, all the noobs, they got it wrong.
At 1, we're at -6. Is
6.
everyone happy with that? That was from the graph. Okay? Now, what's my pattern? What's happening here?
Going down by 3.
Down by 3. So that is that's going to be my coefficient.
So -3, x plus 0.
You what? Shh. Quiet. What's happening when x is 0? What does our y value give us?
0,
And so
-3.
that's our constant. So our coefficient was -3, and our constant was -3.
Look at that.
All right, looking at gradient, which is rise over run, if I looked at a triangle here, so let's look at this triangle here.
It's a tiny triangle.
You don't have to, I just happen to pick that triangle. It's
Good on ya.
It's a nice triangle.
Fix it.
Shh. There's too much chatter. Okay, so we just had a question, why this triangle? Well, I picked it because it was nice numbers, but I could make it a nice big triangle if I wanted. I could do this triangle here instead. It's going to give me the same answer, okay, because they've both got the same slope. So if we wanted to use the big triangle or the little triangle, doesn't matter, my gradient's going to work out to be the same. Now the first thing to note is if I'm walking left to right along here, am I going up or down?
Down.
So what does that tell me about my gradient?
It's a negative.
It's a negative gradient. So instead of a rise, it's really a fall, isn't it? So if I want to look at the big triangle, can you see how far I fell from here to here?
You fell a long way.
Like 6.
Good job, Ollie.
Quiet. And my run, can you see how far the run on this triangle is? 2. So -6 on 2 simplifies to
Obviously it simplifies to -3 on 1.
-3. We don't need to say on 1.
Okay. I see.
There's too much chatting. The y-intercept is where I hit the y-axis. If I look at this line, what point do I hit the y-axis at?
3.
3.
-3. It's really important that you get that.
See, all those noobs.
So can we see that the coefficient is -3, the gradient is -3. The constant is -3, the y-intercept
What a
is -3. So what you should notice is this rule, which we should have already written in our book last lesson.
What?
We didn't write, actually no, we didn't write it down. Y equals,
Nick, stop it.
so this is where we're heading from last lesson. So we were always looking at what's happening in front of the x, what's happening as the constant. So this coefficient, okay, so the coefficient, what does coefficient mean?
Number.
The number in front of the letter.
Oh.
So the number in front of the x, writing this down, Callum, so you can remember. The number in front of the x is going to be the gradient. Okay? This one's the constant. What does constant mean?
The one by itself.
The one by itself with no letter. Okay? The one with no letter, what's it going to be on our graph?
The
Can you just leave
intercept.
it alone? The y-intercept.
Oh, so
Okay, so to be super helpful, our M stands for gradient and our B stands for y-intercept. Okay? So as mathematicians are not awesome at spelling. Okay? So our coefficient or our gradient is M and our constant or our y-intercept is B. So if you looked at this little graph here, we could see the gradient. See this little triangle here? It's got gradient of 2 over 1. So my gradient is 2. My y-intercept, where I hit my y-axis,
-1.
is -1. So I can tell that the equation is y equals 2x minus 1 without drawing a table of values. Okay, because I know that the gradient must be in front of the x and the y-intercept must be the constant. Is that kind of cool? Now there's 2 tricky ones. Yep. That's okay, you can put a fraction there.
Oh, sick.
Okay, I can have 3/4, I can have -7/8, doesn't matter.
3.1472.
You can have decimals. Quiet. Okay, there's 2 special cases. Okay, remember when we talked about gradient, we had positive, negative, 0, and undefined. So we're going to look at the 0 gradient. If I had 0 gradient back here, if y equals mx plus b, that means this doesn't exist. So 0 gradient is straight across, and you end up with just y equaling b. Okay, so whatever you hit on the y-axis, that becomes your equation. There is no gradient, remember, because a flat line has a gradient of 0. So the equation of this line is y equals 5. The equation of this line is y equals -4. If I told you to draw y equals -1, what would I do? If I said draw y equals -1, what do you think I would do? Charlie?
Go across, like just under the.
Yep, just under here, through -1. That's it. So they're really nice, those lines.
41728. So I know. Get rid of this one.
Does that make sense?
Wait.
Cool. Alright.
2 batteries.
Because the x is 0.
That's 1, 2, 3, 4. So we just cut across straight through where y is -1. And if I said y was Charlie could be anything. Okay, this one, remember the undefined, the straight up and down lines?
Yes.
These have infinite gradient. These cut straight through an x value and they just say x equals the constant that they can pass through.
Yes.
So x equals -2
Yes.
cuts through x equals -2.
Fair enough.
X equals 4 cuts straight through x equals 4. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And they have undefined gradient. Okay, a couple of quick examples. In this question, what is the gradient?
2.
And what is the y-intercept?
3.
Pretty simple. In this one, what's the gradient?
1/3.
And what's the
-4.
y-intercept?
-4.
Okay. In this question, I want to find the rule. So I need to know what the gradient and the y-intercept are. What's the gradient? Let's look at a triangle. Here's a nice triangle here.
3.
Careful. I've gone up 4. 4 over 1, which is just 4.
4.
Boys, what's my y-intercept?
Negative 1.
It's negative 1. See how I hit at negative 1? Don't forget the negatives. Matthew,
So stupid.
pay attention.
Immature.
So this is negative 1 because my graph hits the y-axis at negative 1. So what should my equation be? Lizzie, pay attention. My equation should be y equals, I always start with y equals 4x minus 1. Well done.
4x minus 1.
And I got the equation without doing
I've
this
just
in
got
ways.
that
How cool is
swag one from them.
Alright, what about this one? What's my gradient over here?
5.
Is this big?
Yeah, 4.
4?
Oh no, it's just 4.
Is
Yeah.
it 4?
Yeah, 4.
Negative 5.
Negative
7, 8, 9,
Negative 4. Oh.
It's going down.
Negative 4.
What's my run?
2.
So what's my gradient?
4.
Negative 2.
What's my y-intercept?
0.
What is my y-intercept? Where do I hit the y-axis?
2.
The y-axis?
4,
The y-axis.
0.
Stop guessing random numbers. 4. So what's the equation?
I'm saying.
So what's the
negative
equation?
2x minus
Okay, that's why you're ahead of me.
Okay. Last 2 questions, last 2 examples. What is the equation of this line? It's going straight across and it's cutting through minus
Y
3.
equals X equals negative.
Y equals negative 3. Well done. And what about this one? What's the equation of this one?
X equals 7.
X equals 7. Alright, ready for you to time some crime questions. Could you
I'm doing it fine.